Okay, we will welcome everyone to our Bountiful City Council meeting on Tuesday, August 23rd. And we will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Alex Densley, followed by a prayer from Josiah Walker from the Redeeming Life Church.
Will the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Josiah Walker from the Redeeming Life Church, thank you so much for being here to offer our prayer.
Thank you so much for the invite, Madam Mayor and City Council members. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to live in this great city of Bountiful. Lord, I pray for our leaders, for our mayor and our city council members, Lord. I pray as they seek to lead and guide us and direct us, Lord, that you would give them vision and clarity for the future and the ways that you would have them lead this great city. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity that we have to live here, to work here, and to play here. I pray that Bountiful would be a place known across our great state and across our country as a place where people want to be, they want to live, they want to play, and they want to work in because of how great our city is. I pray that you would watch over our citizens, protect them, keep them safe. Lord, and I pray that you would fill our reservoirs, our lakes. Send us rain, Lord Jesus, to end this drought and provide us the resources we need to continue moving forward. I thank you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do and all that you will do here in our great city, Lord. We give you all the praise and all the glory. In your name, amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We now have a resolution 2022-14 allowing electronic participation for Richard Higginson, and I understand there's a amendment. Our Councilwoman Cecily Price Hewish is also unable to be here tonight, and so we wanted to add her. And Councilwoman Bradshaw, did you have an amendment to this?
Yes, Mayor, if I could, I'd like to make an amendment to Resolution 2022-14. I'm going to look at our city attorney. There are several places in the whereases where we're acknowledging Councilmember Richard Higginson by name as not being able to physically attend, and additional whereases, allowing him to attend via electronic means. Do you need me to make a motion to amend each specific line, or would it be sufficient to make one general motion that at each whereas where it says Councilmember Richard Higginson to also add and Councilmember Cecily Price Hewish after his name in each of the whereas clauses his name appears?
Yeah, I would say the second, and I would just say just for the resolution in general, so we can include it in the title and also in the anywhere that it's mentioned, that we just add her name along with his. There's in the authorization as well, it names that. So I would just suggest that it just be that we just
blanket
add it
motion.
throughout.
Okay, in that case, Mayor, I would like to make a blanket motion that we amend the resolution 2022-14 to include Councilmember Cecily Price Hewish in the title, the whereas statements, and the be it resolved statements wherever appropriate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thanks to technology and Miranda, Council members Higginson and Price Hewish can join our meeting electronically. Is there anything else we need to do for that to happen? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Are you there, Councilman Higginson?
Can you hear me?
Councilwoman Price Hewish?
I'm also here. Thank you.
They're messaging saying they can hear,
Okay.
but I don't know that
They're not muted.
I don't know if I've unmuted. I'm here.
Okay. All right. Okay, well,
Mayor, can you hear me?
council members Higginson and Price Hewish, if you want to make yourself known at any point in the meeting, please feel free to speak up. We
Thank you.
will now have our public comment period where we invite members of the public to come and speak for 2 minutes. If you'd like to do so, please state your name and address, and we'd love to hear from you.
This is the only time I get to talk. My name is Jack Holt. I live at 1201 East 700 North. I seem to fill your email with some of my studies and so forth, but let me see if I can do this quickly. I've attended the Bountiful Planning meeting last week. I saw the council's objectives to be aesthetics for the parking strip and water conservation second. The objectives, I think, should be increased to include climate change, citizen maintenance, utility company maintenance, and fire. And the climate change, I think, is extremely important because the forecast that I gave you with the Department of Natural Resources says that our moisture over the next 30 years or so forth is going to be highly variable because of the climate change, and our ability to be able to support greenery, period, is, that doesn't say that in the study, that's my conclusion, is subject to question. So my thought is the best way for people like me on a fixed income is to allow us to have no greenery in the strip, and I hope that in the photojournal that I sent you that you could see that would allow us to adapt. So if water changes and the water comes back and the Great Salt Lake fills again, I'm glad to add water back into my strip again. I also reviewed your agenda today, and I also talked to Barry Weber Basin based on the agreement that we as citizens have to sign. And for example, I'm not going to be allowed to be able to take advantage of this program because it says you have to have a drip system in your parking strip. For me to do that, I have to go under 13 feet of concrete of my walks and 65 feet of my driveway to get to my controllers to be able to do that. Rather than what I thought I could do is put a drip system on my existing ones, but it clearly says in your regs and what Weber Basin would allow. So that my only solution is no greenery in the strip.
Thank you, Jack. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay. We will now consider the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the minutes on page 13, or 3 of 5 of the minutes, on line 22, where it references teen suicides, to just to strike out more than 10 and replace it by a number of. Other than that, if no one else has any modifications, I'll make a motion.
Will you please read that sentence as you would like it to be read?
Yes. He explained that in the last 18 months, there have been a number of teen suicides in Bountiful. Period.
I'm happy to second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Did that motion include adopting the minutes?
No. Did it?
I'm happy to make
Yes.
a motion that we approve the minutes as amended. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, now we will hear council reports. Councilwoman Sagara Bar, do you have a report?
Not this evening, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just report that the mayors from Utah were all invited to the governor's mansion last night. And so I was there and met a number of other mayors, and Governor Cox spoke to us, and I just thought it was quite a tribute to us and the work we do as cities. He said something along the lines of, as city workers and city elected officials, we have much more impact on our residents' lives than the President of the United States. And the governor and the First Lady of the state were very appreciative of the work that we do as cities. And they said that we're doing the work where the rubber hits the road. And so I just wanted to pass along that appreciation. And it was nice to know Governor Cox has been on a city council. He's served as mayor and a county commissioner. And so it's nice that he understands the work that we're doing as cities and the importance of it. So I just wanted to pass along that compliment from him, and it was nice to be there, nice to have that experience. So I just wanted to report on that. So Councilman Bell, do you have a report tonight?
A few items I'd like to just remind everybody on. The Bonneville City Youth Council will be doing a cleanup at the Heber C. Kimball, the mill on Orchard, this coming Saturday at 9 o'clock, and we'd welcome anybody that'd like to come and participate and help the youth with that. Also, the Bonneville City Service Council, regarding that, they are, the last concert in the park is this coming Friday at 7 o'clock, and encourage everybody to come and participate in that as they wrap up. And on September 17th, there's an emergency preparedness fair. It is free for all participants, and there is a huge effort and amount of work that's going on to make this fair successful, educational, and have takeaways regarding that. Will be held at the Megaplex Theater on that Saturday, September 17th. It's almost an all-day thing. They'll have seminars and workshops and an hour's worth of things to explain of what's going on that day, and encourage everybody to spread the word and participate in that. On September 10th, as most of us know, is the Day of Service. One of the focuses that will be taking place on that day is the food pantry, and just want to make everybody aware of the need to help support our food pantry. In August of 2021, there was 195,000 pounds of food available for those that needed it. This August 2022, there was 81,000 pounds. So 81,000 compared to a year ago was 195. The need's grown 65%. And so if we can encourage our neighbors and friends to help participate and raise the food availability there, that would be a much appreciated focus. And there'll be other things too, and you can go to our Bonneville City website to see all the activities that will be taking place on that day for the Day of Service.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Thank you. I have a couple reports related to the South Davis Recreation District to pass along. The first is, in our last council meeting, Councilwoman Square-Barr in particular asked about updates on meetings with the Davis School District. And so I'm happy to report that there was a meeting with the superintendent and the head of facilities for the district last week. Mayor Ken Romney from West Bountiful, myself, and Tiff Miller, the director, attended. The purpose of the meeting was to talk with the school district about a few different items. Ongoing O&M support for the rec district, particularly related to the pool facilities, given the use by 4 different area high schools, whether they would increase their commitment to if an additional 50-meter pool is built, and to talk about the footprint of the existing facility and the fact that they are also a neighbor, a property neighbor to the facility, and that whether they would entertain any additional land donations to facilitate the expansion of the facility. So it was an initial opening discussion. It was a positive discussion, but so things are on the table. Some things are more on the table, but everything was at least on the table. Sounds like you have a question.
Was the question of the school that does not participate through taxes, was that on the table?
So that was on the table via the discussion of ongoing operation and maintenance expenses. That it was definitely a point raised. I've raised it fairly strongly about those parents aren't participating via their property tax, and there needed to be some recognition of that. So it was definitely raised, discussed, and on the table. No commitments at this point, but it has been raised. The second report related to the rec district is, in our last meeting on the work session, the chairman, Todd Meyer, talked about plans to form a committee to discuss various land use options related to the current facility and expansions for field space. The rec district met yesterday and has asked if I will head up an effort to convene a work group related to those discussions involving a subset of members of the rec district board from Bountiful and from the school district. So I have started some discussions with mayor and staff about that, and need to complete discussions with the school district about who might be willing to serve on that subcommittee. So those are also taking place, and the hope is that we will explore a wide range of options of how that, how and if a 50-meter pool expansion works on that site, in possibly different configurations, or if there are alternate sites to consider along with the discussion of field space.
Thank you. Any other questions? Great. Thank you so much for that update. I just wanted to see if either Council Member Higginson or Price Hewish would like to give a report tonight.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Unfortunately,
Mayor, can you hear me?
Unfortunately,
I
we're
can
not
hear you,
able to
Richard.
hear. So if either of you need to chime in or would like to text
Cecily,
Can
I
you
guess
hear
it's
me,
just
Richard?
you and me
to
tonight.
receive that.
We can hear each
We will
other.
move to
Okay.
consider approval of expenditures greater than
Do
$1,000.
you have a crazy bad buzz in your audio as well?
Yes.
Motion to
It's a
approve
very
expenditures
buzzy.
greater than $1,000 paid
Yeah.
on August 1st and August 8th.
Well, I'm really sorry about your family member there.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, Richard, it's been
opposed?
really just very
Thank you.
traumatic
And now
day,
we
to be
will
honest.
consider approval of Resolution
And I'm just
2022-13, which authorizes
now
the amended
leaving the
Red
emergency
Mesa
that way down.
Tapua solar project.
No, in
Mr.
Salt
Alan
Lake.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. It remains
Well,
to be
don't
seen
ask
what
me
the
to
outcome will be.
Say that one either, Mayor.
I'm sure I didn't get that right.
Our thoughts are with
It's great
you
to
at
be here
least.
today with you to discuss
Thanks,
this.
Richard. I really
If you
appreciate it.
remember, this is one that back in 2019, we actually did approve this solar project, similar to the steel project that I was here about a month ago. It's got a lot of the same issues that we had with the steel project, with the delay of materials and getting them from China where the parts come from, as well as they become, through their contracts, they weren't able to supply at the current rate that they had in there, and it became cheaper for them to default and pay us the default fee than to supply the power. Some of the reasons it still makes sense to do it is transmission has become extremely difficult. If we were to start a new project, again, the pricing would be in the same realm, and it also would take us up to 5 years to get an interconnection and transmission to get it here to the city. So it's a long process. Again, we've been working on this since 2019. So it behooves us, I think, to still move forward. Again, this is a 25-year contract. There was some question as to whether or not they were really doing work, and we did get some pictures, and Miranda was good enough to put them up here. And we'll show you that, like I say, there is work being done on the site. You can see kind of on the upper corner of the dark area where they're actually mounting solar panels onto it. So you can see it's a pretty decent size. It's actually The site here is 680 acres. And actually, as I was just sitting here in the audience, it made me think that this project is a 77 megawatt project. And of course, it's got a slope to it. Through UAMPS is getting 66 megawatts, but this whole 680 would have just barely covered the load that we're sitting at right now in the city. So, I mean, just that was one of those things that just dawned on me as I was sitting there. I was just kind of off the cuff. But anyways, you can see where it is working. Miranda, if you would just click through the pictures. We're going to show you one picture. I apologize. No, that's great. I thought there was a couple. There was just a little more close up. But anyway, I just want to say the work is going on. That we're great. So I apologize. But anyway, this did go to the Power Commission this morning, and it is the staff and the Power Commission's recommendation that we approve the amended power supply agreement and also resolution 2022-13 for the mayor to sign, which would authorize the mayor to sign both the resolution and the amended contract for a 25-year contract with the Red Mesa project at the firm price of $37 or 3 cents per kilowatt hour from this project for 25 years. The starting portion of this is anticipated being in April of 2023. So it should be up and running, and we should have it for our summer load next year. So again, that would be the Power Commission staff's recommendation.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions from the council?
Alan, I appreciate the work that you're doing to provide power, and we have a reliable source in the future. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-13 to approve the Red Mesa Papafa Solar Farm power supply agreement.
All in favor? Oh, no. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion passes. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm just going to note too that through electronic communications, we received ayes from Councilmember Price Hewish and Councilmember Higginson. We're working on trying to get that visible to the public, but they did both vote aye.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. Glad they could participate. We'll now, Mr. Alan Johnson has our next item too, to consider approval of the purchase of a transformer.
Yes, Mayor. This transformer, we typically in this size transformer voltage range, we keep 2 of them in stock. And what we do is, if somebody comes in and needs it, we've always got one to hook up a new customer, and it still leaves us a backup for a failure, or if we have a failure, we're never going to be without a transformer. So we keep a minimum 2 in stock. We've hit a situation where we need 2 of them right now. Like I say, we're hooking up, the one of them is going to be the new building at the Renaissance Center. And so anyway, we're going to be down to none. So we did go out and look and see, and we only was able to get 1 transformer that gave us a bid. And so basically we went out and purchased this 1 transformer from Irby to get our second transformer, so we will have our initial spare to replace the one that's being used. And the only cost that we was able to get was $29,850 for that 1 transformer. And you'll notice it's got a 56 to 58 week delivery on this transformer. And like I say, when I got 2 of them, they're building the 1 building, so we'll put it in right away. But they've got a second one potentially could be looking at it. We've let them know we won't have a transformer unless we can find another one to hook the second building that they're talking about right now. So again, as we went out to our manufacturers, a lot of manufacturers on 3-phase transformers said they will not even give us a quote or a bid until the first quarter of 2023. They're so far behind. So basically, it's a Power Commission staff's recommendation that we take the sole source of the only bid we was able to get for this 500 kVA transformer with the 208/120 volt transformer for $29,850 from Irby.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What would you have expected this cost to be, say, a year ago?
probably close to $8,000 lower.
Lower.
Lower, yeah.
What was your expected delivery time frame before the pandemic on a transformer this size?
Typically, we could get them within 120 to 3 to 4 months. And a lot of times, this size range, our local distributors would keep one in stock to help supply, but at this point, nobody's keeping anything in stock because whatever's coming in is going out. And there's just plain a shortage everywhere, so.
Well, I think it's important that we secure the one you can find, even though it's a little bit pricier than we would prefer, given the continued interesting supply chain situation we find ourselves. So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the IRB transformer in the amount of $29,850.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. And now, Mr. Alan Johnson again for considering approval of a purchase of a 3 reels of 1100 URD cable.
And I have a demo here.
Just as a procedural question, the council members Higginson and Price Hewish voted aye on that as well, right? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, council member Higginson is an aye. Thank you. On the Zoom. Okay, so if you would like to vote via Zoom, council members Higginson and Price Hewish.
They both just did it
Okay.
via Zoom on the I.
Excellent.
There's you can see Cecily with the hand up and yeah, it's up there.
Okay, thank you. So, so back to the discussion about the 3 reels of 1100 URD cable.
Yes, again, this is a piece of the cable, and this is a 600 amp piece of cable. And the reason why I brought it, it's been a little bit since I brought it, but it'll also help explain what we're doing with the next one on the agenda. It is heavy.
I'm curious what the inside is. It's not as heavy as I expected, though.
Well, it's aluminum.
Okay.
The inside of it is an aluminum cable, and then you've got I'll call it the orangish portion, which is the insulation. And then around there's a little wire, and that's the neutral, and that's what they call a 1/3 neutral. And then it's got a sheath or a shield around the outside to keep it weather tight. And again, this cable is the only one we can get that's 600 amps. And this is manufactured by Okanite. It comes with a 40-year guarantee on this cable, which, I mean, they think the life of it would be 80 years, but it comes with a guarantee of 40 years. And we've been using Okanite for a while. There are others of now what they call 480 amp, it's a little bit smaller, or 750 mils, but this is the only one you can get 600. We use this to run our main feeds. And like I say, right now we're pulling this cable up 1800 south. And we pull it with our pullers and stuff. We're pulling up to 1,000 feet. And it's got to come in and actually, you don't see it, you can't bend it, but it actually bends and comes up. And then you have to get it in place and make connections, high voltage connections, and bolt it on. So it's a really interesting cable to do in the summer. And it's way interesting when it's cold in the winter and it doesn't want to bend at all. But again, why you get these pieces is you can only make it work if you get long enough to be able to bend it and get it where you want. And then you cut it and it has to just go in there. So. But anyway, we need some of this cable to get power down to the Renaissance. We've got to pull power from our new substation down to the Renaissance, and this mostly will be reimbursed by the developer, but we've got to get the cable and some switch cans to put that together. So we need 3 more cables than what we have in stock. We will be bringing this into inventory and pulling it out as we use it here, more likely later this fall. So be the Power Commission staff's recommendation that we purchase a single source from, again, it comes from Irby for the 4,095 feet, for $48,116.25.
For the developer reimbursement, I'm assuming they won't reimburse this total cost, they'll just reimburse price per square foot that is used, or is it a percentage of price?
In this particular case, because it's going down to the Renaissance Center, we basically, when we built the substation, recognized there was going to be this potential growth. There is no power to where they're building to, so this cost would all get run down to it, because it's basically being brought in to feed that, several blocks of the Renaissance Center and what they're participating to build into it. So in this case, they will be funding most of that cost back in.
Okay, but I'm just for those listening at home, when we say most, is there a percentage attached to that, or is it just what we use? I guess that's my question. If it's per square foot, are we going to take note of how much square footage is used and then bill it that way, or is it just this flat cost of $48,116?
Well, again, the 48,000 is just the wire. I believe the total cost to get the power down to the Renaissance Center is about $145,000 that they'll be paying. And typically we do for any development, the developer pays the cost to put the power system in. And this is what we call a line extension fee. And because there's no power into the south side of that, they've got to bring power in, and it's got to, because of the size and requirements that they need. Again, like I say, this one transformer that we're just replacing to the one unit they're building would be a 500 kV or a half a megawatt load in itself. And that's not near as big as the bigger one that is going to be a little bit to the north. So, I mean, there would be probably 4.5 megawatts of growth is what they're kind of telling us is going to be. So it's what you'd typically go out through a neighborhood, a pretty good section of the city that's going to be put into the thing if everything goes as they're proposing at this point. So.
Okay, so is it safe to say, again, just for people who may be listening in, that when we say most would be reimbursed by the developer, could we say close to 100% would be reimbursed?
I probably, when I say most, there may be some miscellaneous costs to the developer, but in this case, the wire that gets pulled down to there, the cans that we're talking about,
all of the new
next,
power will be reimbursed.
All of those costs would be reimbursed.
Thanks.
There is some miscellaneous ones typically that would come out in the backbone that we look as a need for the group. In this case, is going down. So I'll be a little clearer. All of this wire, the connections coming down to it will be billed to the developer in this case.
That's a good clarification.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'm happy to make a motion if there are no. I motion that we approve the purchase of the 3 reels of 1,100 URD cable from Irby in the amount of $48,116.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you.
It looks like we have 2 raised hands up there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mayor, just so they're communicating via their raised hands, so we saw it there.
That's good. That is a clear way to see their votes. Thank you. And Mr. Alan Johnson, now we can consider approval of the purchase of 2 PME 11 switchgear fuse holders and basements.
And again, these 2 cans are being purchased essentially for the Renaissance Center. Will be reimbursed for all of these costs. But one of the things that we've gone back and we sole source S&C gear. And if you look on the next page, you can see a couple pictures of the cans, so you'll see them around town that are sitting out there. But the reason why we have standardized on these cans is if we have one that goes bad just through age or a car hits it or something, we can take that can, unbolt all the connections, lift it off, and slip a new can and rebolt the connections. And again, this cable is bolted into there, and that's why I wanted to bring that cable to recognize if it's off for 2 inches, and we just pulled 600 to 1,000 feet of cable in the conduit, The splice to extend it is about that long. Like I say, so there isn't room to splice in a cabinet, so you end up pulling this cable out. So it becomes very, very expensive if you miss it. So we've come back and we've tried a couple other cans, but the problem is you get there and it's a little bit too far out or a little bit high, and they're just off a little bit, they don't match. So we've standardized on S&C. We've had really no problem. I mean, age, they go bad, but we have no problems. They're a great piece of equipment, so we've standardized them. So it becomes a single source for that very reason. You can only buy them basically through the distributor. It's the same price, whether we buy it here or in Colorado. I mean, they sell them all at the same price wherever you buy them. So basically, it'd be the Power Commission staff recommendation that we purchase these 2 cans, and it comes with the fuse necessary, the fuse holders, what they call the basement or the pad that goes down underneath it to install these 2 cans. Again, we were planning on putting them into inventory, but we will pull them out and be put in. These 2 will be housed on 1800 South here before the year's over. So it'd be our recommendation. We purchased these 2 PME 11 S&C switch cans for $40,562.
If there aren't any questions, is anyone ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 PME 11 switchgears from Irby in the amount of $40,562.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Looks like 2 hands from the remote council people. Thank you. That motion passes. And now, Mr. Alan Johnson, for your last item of the night, to consider approval of an additional $30,190 for directional boring.
Yes, like I say, as if you remember earlier this spring, we did go out to competitive bid for what we anticipated being our street light repair systems and a couple distribution jobs. One of them was the project that's going up 1800 South, where they've been boring up in that upper end. So we did go out to bid. So Down Under is currently working. In the midst of us doing maintenance, we have discovered an area that was annexed in from Rocky Mountain Power quite a number of years ago, where the cable is direct buried. By being direct buried, it means if it fails, we'd have to go in and dig a new cable through people's backyards. But we've come down under and got a price, as you see on the map on the second page, to move the transformers into the front yard and bore in a new primary, bore back and tie into the secondary. And so that they worked with that, all that we've identified, talked to all the neighbors, and they're comfortable with what we're doing there. We also had one more street light that has failed. So we have asked them to give us prices, and they have gave us a price to do this distribution and street light work for $30,190. So we would like to get approval to add the $30,190 to their original contract, which would be the totally approved for the year of $318,967. And again, we have money in our distribution and streetlight budget funded for these types of activities. So that would be the Staff and Power Commission's recommendation.
Any questions?
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the additional $30,190 for additional direct boring.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the 2 other council members are also voting in favor, so that motion passes. And thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Anybody wants to?
Thanks for bringing that to show us. It's really good to get a good look at it, know what we're talking about. We will now consider approval of a contract with Whittison Turbine Service, and Mr. Brad Clausen is here to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. So as you may or may not know, Calder Well is a really important asset to the city's water system. And in recent years, the ability for it to produce has been reduced from around 1,200 gallons per minute down to 700. And that's due to the production of sand. So the water department has been manually closing that so that the velocities are lower and the sand isn't being pulled into the system. We had a study done a while back that resulted in a recommendation to replace the casing of the well, which is a 20-inch casing with a 14-inch casing, and along with the contingency that because it's such an old well, this well's been in the system for over 60 years, that that casing may not be able to be removed. So there's contingency for being able to work with that well still in place. We held a pre-bid meeting, and we had 2 contractors in attendance, including Whittison. We also had one of the adjoining property owners present. One of the challenges of this project is going to be that the site is very limited as far as accessibility. So we're in communication with that neighbor and possibly another for options on how to perform this project. And because of that, there may be some reduction in the cost that were actually bid. So our consultant engineer's estimate came out to $847,400. Whittison's proposal came to $775,188, and with some of those possibilities for reducing the costs based on what we can do with the adjoining property. And that also includes some of that price includes all of the options, whether or not the casing is able to be removed. So some of that cost could also be reduced. So this project will be funded through the Water Department capital budget, and currently there is $557,000 allocated in the current fiscal year. Engineering Department's recommendation is that the proposal is accepted at the unit prices that were submitted.
Thank you so much. What questions do you have?
Are we anticipating a budget amendment since the budget in the capital projects budget is less than what our bid came back at?
I'll defer that to Mr. Cheney.
We have sufficient funds in our operating to be able to cover this. Then at the end of the year, if we need to make an adjustment to operating, we would do an adjustment at that time.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, if I may. I just think it's pertinent to our previous discussion when because of this, the attention that this well needs is, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's because of the sand and the debris that has gotten into the well and has damaged it, correct? Am I simplifying it too much? But that's essentially...
We're trying to prevent sand from entering the system.
Prevent the sand from entering the system to preserve it. So that just, in my mind, it just goes back to our previous discussion about zero-scape and...
Maybe if I could clarify, it's the sand in the existing soil formation that's being drawn as the water's removed. It's not from the top down. It's
not
from
top down. It's already down there. Okay, thank you. That was my question. I appreciate that.
Where's the Calder well located?
It's east of Lewis Park, 450 East, I believe.
Okay. And this won't impact drinking water in the surrounding areas, that their water will be provided by other means, I assume. No homes will go without water while this is down.
That's correct.
And that, I'll make a motion to approve. Let's see, where are we? The Calder Well Rehabilitation Project for the unit prices submitted to Whittison Turbine Services.
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And that voting is unanimous. Thank you so much, Brad. And now we will move to consider approval of a contract with MC Greene and Sons for the 2022 Eagle Ridge Drive Extension Project. We are really excited about this, and Mr. Lloyd Cheney, our engineer.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm really pleased to bring you the opportunity to approve the contract with MC Greene for the completion of the Eagle Ridge Drive project. We were pleasantly surprised to have 6 contractors respond with pricing for our project. And you can see, although there was quite a wide range of pricing, it was very competitive. Very happy with MC Greene's bid. The project was split up into 2 schedules, with Schedule 1 representing all the basic components needed to complete the project, but supplemented by Schedule 2, which is some alternate items for storm drain materials. As we worked on the 800 East project, we did change materials on that project just because of availability, and we think that may be an issue for this project. You may be aware of the funding. It's a little bit different for this project than will be for most of our projects, in that the city will receive $1 million loan from Davis County, and that will be awarded or given to the city at the completion of the project. We will have to fund the entire construction cost up front, but we will pursue an agreement with the owner of the property, and as that's developed, they'll be required to reimburse the city and hence the county for the expenditure for building the road. And it'll include all the utilities and the street improvements needed to extend that road to the north side of the debris basin across Stone Creek. From the north side of the debris basin to the end of Eagle Ridge Drive, it'll just be a new asphalt pavement. We'll wait for further development for a curb and gutter and sidewalk to be installed in that portion. I'd be happy to answer any other questions about the project if you have it, but we would highly recommend that the city award the project to MC Greene at the unit prices submitted in their proposal.
Mayor, this project I know has taken a lot of our staff time. It's something the neighbors in that area have long wanted. It's taken more hoops than I think the staff ever anticipated they'd have to jump through, with approvals from the Bureau of Reclamation, Dominion, the county, creative designing, working with the property owner. So I think our staff is to be commended for continued dogged efforts every time they were told no, to continue to find workarounds to make this very short section of road, but very important for the issues and challenges we face at the B happen, and then to continue to work with our friends at the county, since we're not often eligible for various county road funds. It's nice that they found a creative way to send us back some of the money our residents pay so that we could fund this road. So our staff is to be, I think, commended for sticking with a tricky project and to keep playing with the Rubik's Cube until they could make it work. And so I want to make sure that is acknowledged, because I know the project, it couldn't come fast enough for some of the neighbors up there, but it wasn't an easy one for our staff to pull off.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd like to maybe share a couple of comments as well, and I appreciate and share the sentiments by Councilwoman Bradshaw, in that it's not normal for the city, if I may, to build a road such as this on private property, but the city has found that it's critical to not wait for private development to build this, which would be normal practice. Is a developer would normally, when they develop the land around it, they would pay for and build that road and then sell the land next to it. And it's just become to the point where we can no longer wait, and we need, this road serves a critical connection for the residents and everybody involved. And so we're expediting that process by doing this at this time, with the developer reimbursing us in the future. Is that true? Sounds good.
Excellent.
With that, unless anyone else wanted to say anything, I'm happy to make a motion. I didn't want to.
Please.
In that case, I'm very pleased to make a motion to approve contract with MC Greene and Sons for the 2022 Eagle Ridge Drive Extension project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have all council members voting aye. Thank you so much for your work,
Very exciting.
staff. That's great. Good news. And now, for our next item, we'll consider approval of a contract with IMBA Trail Solutions and Mr. Todd Christensen.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, a lot of work has been performed on the trails planning, trails implementation plan, and the design of trails, and especially the development of the master planning corridors that were identified last fall. We are, or actually, that was earlier this year. But anyway, the trails implementation plan identifies roughly 11 miles of trails to be built in 2023, for which the corridors have been identified, but the trails haven't been designed or flagged. So looking at getting a higher level of detail for these trails in the design and flagging, as well as, and that would include field evaluation and meeting with city staff and Trails Committee members to further refine the objectives of the trails and kind of the look, feel, et cetera, for these trails that will be used in the flagging process, and then will also be written into the contract documents so that we can get the trails built the way that they're intended. So this is really an effort to get ahead of the game for 2023 construction. So these are all trails that we hope to build in 2023, and by the way, some of the trails that we intend to build in 2023 have already been flagged as part of the NEPA application in the Mueller Park area. These are additional trails. We issued an RFP and received proposals from 4 trails companies. We have worked with 3 of these companies in the past. Ptarmigan Trails we've not yet worked with, but the staff report does kind of give a summary of the proposals that were received in terms of the cost. The proposal from IMBA Trail Solutions was a very good proposal, and also the lowest cost proposal. We've worked with them more than the others. I mean, they're the company who performed the design and flagging for the Mueller Park Trail Network, as well as the master planning corridors work that we did earlier this year. So the recommendation to City Council from staff is to contract with IMBA Trail Solutions to perform design and flagging for 2023 trails for $41,475, with an option to extend the contract to include 2024 trails for an additional $54,825. And the option, just to elaborate a little on the option, that would be exercised after completion of the work, the design and flagging work for the 2023 trails, if both parties are interested in executing that option at that time, according to the proposal already provided by IMBA.
Do you have any guess on the time frame for them to get this done?
The work for the trails to be built in 2023 has a deadline of the end of October this year.
Great. Any other questions?
I don't have questions, but I did attend the Bountiful Trails Advisory Committee meeting last week, where this item and the next item were discussed with the advisory committee. Just like we are seeing in all types of construction projects, getting contractors is difficult with labor issues. They're booked out, and we wanted to reserve some capacity for trails crews to work on trails in 2022, and they were just already booked because by the time our projects were approved and we received our UOR grant, those those guys have been reserved at the end of last year to start in the spring. So this work to make sure that we are ready to go is really important, that we have the mountain flagged, and the advisory committee was super excited to see that option move forward. In addition, IMBA, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the Trails Committee, has been an excellent partner on earlier parts of our Trails project. They've really embraced our Trails Committee, have taken them out there with them to flag, to share local knowledge of our hillside, and I think that's really a positive. They've been incredibly willing to be helpful and available as we've gone through different pitches to win grants and things like that. So I wanted to make sure, since I attended and others weren't able to make it, that there was great excitement from our residents that are serving as our advisors there with this proposal and this plan in particular, and lots of support for the contractor, who is the low bidder as well.
Great. If there are no other questions, is there someone who'd like to make a motion?
I'm happy to make a motion. I propose that we approve the contract with IMBA Trail Solutions in the amount of $41,475.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you so much. And now, the next item is to consider approval of a contract with Elite Landscape Service for construction of the Summerwood BST Link Trail. Mr. Brock Hill, our Parks Director.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. I appreciate your time tonight. Todd could have done this because it's so closely linked to what he's already talked to you about, and Council Member Bradshaw already stole some of my thunder about why I'm bringing this to you tonight. As stated previously, we did have an issue with contractors' availability for the next year. We did issue, maybe just some background to help you understand this a little bit. We issued an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, and that's in an attempt to build a pool of trail building contractors that have already been vetted and pre-approved based on their experience, based on cost, based on availability of staff and equipment and all those kinds of things. We do have a pool of contractors that we have pre-qualified. There's about 7 members of that pool. When we went out for the 2022 trail projects and we issued an invitation to bid to each of those 7, we had 0 responses from those pre-qualified contractors, simply because their schedule was already full for this year and half of next year. A little bit deflating. We talked to our committee about that. We discussed it at length amongst our staff. And we felt that it important that at least we do something this year, do one of the projects from the implementation plan for the 2022 year. We decided on one stretch of trail. It's the Summerwood to BST, Bonneville Shoreline Trail link. So the Summerwood is a trailhead that already exists on the south end of town at the top of Hidden Lake Circle. There's a circle there already. There's a water tank up there. Some of you are probably familiar with that. There's a bathroom already there. So it already is acting like a small trailhead. We want to link that to the Bonneville Shoreline Trail that's just a mile up the mountain from this location. We felt it was pretty simple trail. It's classified as a green trail or a beginner trail. It will have a lot of the same design parameters as the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. So the slopes are really gentle. Not a lot of technical difficulty built into the trail. The turns are simple. It is about a 36 to a 48 inch wide trail given the location and the slopes and also what's going on there with the terrain. So all of that's been taken into consideration. We decided as staff to reach out to a local contractor that has trail building experience under IMBA. They worked in the Vernal, Utah area, built a lot of the trails in their system out there. Dinosaur Land is a big part of that, so they understand restrictions, they understand tight building constraints, they understand the parameters of the Forest Service and BLM trail building constraints. So I felt comfortable with them. We reached out to them. They had availability. They have not just with the crews, but also any necessary equipment that may be needed. And we felt comfortable with them. We offered them an opportunity to submit a quote for this 1 mile of trail, and they came back with a quote of $36,531. Breaking that down and looking at all the things that they have to do in preparation of this and getting ready for this, we felt that that was a comfortable number. You know, per linear foot, it matches what we've received from other contractors as we've been working through our trails system, so we feel confident and comfortable in that number. You'll know ELS as Rob Vandergrift. He's our landscape contractor down on, that's working currently on Washington Park, and they're going to have a window here in a little bit of about 3 to 4 weeks while they're waiting for some of the hardscape to be done at Washington Park, so they felt that they had a window in their schedule to help us out there, and they're willing to. So our recommendation as staff to the City Council is to approve the Summerwood BST Link Trail Construction bid from Elite Landscape Services in the amount of $36,531, and authorize staff to enter into a trail building contract for the construction of the Summerwood BST Link. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
What's the time frame on this?
They think that they can get started within a couple weeks. Once we get this approved and get the contract figured out, they're ready to go.
No, they think they'll be finished by, snowfall or by...
Yeah, fortunately, this is one of the trails that's already been flagged and already been designed. We do need to work through a meeting with the Forest Service. The Forest Service has asked that they meet with ELS just so that they're comfortable with them. It is a project fully on Forest Service property. It is part of our NEPA application that's already been approved. So once we get that contract in place, once we get that meeting settled, they're ready to go. And they think it's about a 3 to 4 week build.
No, I was gonna note, the new section of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, which I know my council colleagues have already my views that it's an amazing trail with amazing, great big tall pines and very shady. It's a killer climb to get to it, either from the Wild Rose side or the North Canyon side, and I am very hopeful, given the green designation for this trail, that it is an easier climb. So that younger riders or riders that are less than Olympic climbing shape can easily access the new BST, because it's amazing for hikers and for bikers. So
I recently was up there with my family, my youngest son, 9 years old, and on up. We wanted to experience this BST, and I promised them it would be worth the journey, and they about killed me before we got to that trail. So we are very excited to know that there's a connection that is actually rideable and navigable. So I commend the staff in trying to make this happen this year, because there is a strong need by so many in our community to access this trail that it really is kind of an obstacle that many can't overcome. So to make this trail that's built already accessible is critical, and I think it's wonderful. I'm really excited.
Maybe just a couple points of note. We call it a green trail. That's what is classified in the implementation plan. It's what you'll see on our maps. The Forest Service actually calls it a Class 3 trail, bike trail. So when you're talking about Class 3, the design parameters are between 3 and 5%. That's an ideal grade. Not more than 15% in a short distance. So it is going to be relatively easy for all trail users, for beginners, clear up to experts. And like you said, it connects a great trail that's already being built and will be finished here within the month. Also of note, I think that's important, is we've met with the contractor on the North Canyon trailhead, and so we know that that's underway this year and will be done within the next couple months. So great things are happening. We're starting to see our implementation plan come to fruition, and with what Todd you approved tonight with Todd, that just gets us one step closer to get more of this built next year. So
So exciting. Wanna make a motion?
How were we gonna paper, rock, scissors for it again? Or not?
Better
I'm
hurry,
happy
Billy,
to,
I'll
I'm
go.
happy to make a motion to approve a contract with Elite Landscape Construction for the Summerwood BST link in the amount of $36,531.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have votes from everyone in
Thank you.
favor. Thank you so much. And now, Mr. Clint Drake, our attorney, to consider approval of a third amendment to site lease agreement with T-Mobile West Tower LLC.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an amendment to a cell tower agreement that has been in place for more than a couple decades now. The site is 1487 Maple Hills Drive. It's also known as the Upper Williams Reservoir site. There's already existing equipment up there. Recently, company CCTMO, which is Crown Castle, reached out to us. They administer this T-Mobile site and asked if they could attach new equipment for AT&T. They needed about 451 square feet of additional space in that site. This is an ideal location as it's open space, and it's also there's already existing equipment there, and as we like to say, it's better to put ugly on ugly than to spread ugly around, so we keep it there. The details, the important details are included in the staff report, and that includes a description of the lease area and the equipment to be installed. There will be an additional rent, $500 a month or $6,000 or more additional rental to the city per year. We negotiated an annual rental rate increase of 4%, and then just some terms about not disturbing our infrastructure, mainly the water tank, not to drive on it, not to put equipment on it, things like that, and they're responsible if they cause any damage to that. And then because there will be a generator there, just to make sure that they take adequate precautions to ensure that there aren't any leaks or to mitigate any noise that might come from the generator, which we anticipate to be not much. Any questions?
I thought that was a thrilling new legal principle you shared about ugly on ugly, so
Yeah.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve if the council's ready. Make a motion to approve the third amendment to the site lease agreement with the T-Mobile West Tower LLC and CCTMO LLC.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have everyone in favor of that motion, so that passes, and now we will consider a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.